We should be very slow to prevent people from demonstrating. That's the call from private legal practitioner Martin Pebu, who has criticized the government for not allowing campaigners of Fix the Country protest to go ahead with their planned demonstration. The police, who had earlier invited the campaigners for a meeting yesterday, sought a High Court injunction against the planned march. The move has been described by some lawyers as strange. We'll hear from them shortly, but first, here's a wrap of how this social media protest evolved over the week.
The hashtag was Fix the Country, and then other people started pulling out pictures from their communities, and they also started posting it along. And in the end, we had over 450,000 tweets. We were trending worldwide #1.
Joshua Boydo, one of many social media users who set the hashtag in motion.
And so the job is done. I don't feel like a hero because the hashtag can die any moment, and then we'll be back to zero. So I want to see results.
It became a full-blown agitation for better standards of living, hike in fuel prices, unstable power and water supply, among a litany of other social challenges were labelled as problems government was required to fix. Fix yourself became an almost immediate counter hashtag. A tweet by Nsawam Edwejiri MP Frank Anodompre incurred the wrath of the protesting social media users. He tweeted, quote, "Take notice of these two," unquote, alongside a photograph that had the following statements. "Fix the country, Jimie. You don't pay your taxes, you politicize every good policy." He has since apologized, adding that he understands the concerns of the campaigners.
I think it's a question of time. I'm very confident that all of us, and here I'm not putting responsibility on any minister, I think that all of us in position of influence, all of us have a role to play to ensure that as a country we come atop this concern and deal with it.
That did not end the counter hashtags. Nana is fixing it, and Let's Fix Ghana Together popped up as the governing MPP's officials joined the discussion to defend the government's record and commitment to dealing with the matter.
The Akufo-Addo government has on no occasion turned its back towards fixing the problems of our nation.
The social media protest took a different twist as the Ghana Police Service was notified of a street march slated for May 9th. The police service, however, said it is unable to provide protection, adding COVID-19 restrictions remained in force.
They were informed of our inability to give them the necessary protection until such a time that the restrictions are lifted.
The protesters fired back, saying they will not back down.
We know of no law that prohibits us from doing so.
A high-powered government delegation comprising national security, defense, and interior and justice ministers met the protesters yesterday. But while the meeting was ongoing,
tonight, police secure restraining order stopping Fix the Country protesters from embarking on a planned protest this Sunday.
The police secured an injunction to stop the May 9th march. However, the protesters say they will push to have this court order set aside.
This court order will not prevent us from exercising our right, and therefore we would seek to set aside this court order by appealing to the same judicial process that the police has used.
Meanwhile, private legal practitioner Samson Ladi Ayenini has described the ex parte injunction granted by the High Court Justice Ruby Aite as strange.
On this particular injunction, there is everything strange about the length of the subsistence of the prohibition as granted by the court. With the greatest of respect to the court, there is a problem.
On public gatherings are listed. Look, the law passed by Parliament, very lousy legislation passed by them, which empowers the president to issue restrictions. It's not pandemic specific. All over the world, they have passed pandemic specific legislation, which legislations die as long as the pandemic dies. This one, we have passed it as a substantive law. So it is pandemic neutral, and anybody can use it for eternity. So if you say until it is over, it means that what you are giving could actually be in perpetuity. And that is where I think that if they went back to the court, they will get the court to vacate this order, because this order does not comply with the sound principles of law as even enunciated by the Supreme Court. According to the Supreme Court, you can't grant an ex parte injunction and make the order appear as if there is no limit to the order. So this is bizarre. This is strange, and it ought not happen.
All right.
The exercise of the democratic right.
Martin Pebu disagrees, or he agrees, pardon me. He's also asking government to allow the protests to go ahead in the same manner other protests were allowed under other administrations.
As you've already said, to the extent that they were talking, there was no need for this ex parte. The police went to court alone without serving copies on the Fix the Country demo organizers. That's a lot of bad faith. Bad faith. It doesn't bode well for our democracy. And to make matters worse, you see, earlier there had been a decision, in 2015, you know, this Let My Vote Count people had gone to court against a similar practice by the police. And Justice Dennis J., Justice of the Court of Appeal, but he was sitting in the High Court, gave a judgment in which he said that no, it's wrong for the police to go ex parte. Why the rush? You serve them. You know, under the law, the Chief Justice has the power to empanel the court to sit at any time, even midnight, any time. I know recently the Chief Justice did a very marvelous job. He empaneled the court to sit on Saturday, 23rd of April, and the alleged coup plotters case. Yeah, he empaneled the court. So once the Chief Justice has the power to do empanel the court at any time, you don't rush. Yes, we know today is Friday. Saturday, Sunday, the court can sit at any time. So what the police have done is a lot of bad faith. It doesn't bode well for our democracy. You know, this reminds me of the time of President Mills. You remember this Alliance for Accountable Governance, AFAG. You know, at that time, current Attorney General was one of the organizers. The police sought to do such a thing and didn't want them to demonstrate. So President Mills stepped in and said, no, he doesn't want any strictures. The police should allow the demonstrators to go on their demonstration. I remember Attorney General Dami even coming to say, why should President Mills step in? But the president did. He said, look, he's not interested in any strictures. Police should provide security for the demonstrators to demonstrate. You say, yeah, so what the police have done, they've gone back like 10 steps.
Let's go back to Sir Dennis Ajay's decision again, where he described such actions as a crude approach which should not be encouraged. It was a High Court decision, but I thought the reasoning we all did agree was good and valid. Why would another judge take a different approach?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, you say. But if we are providing legal answers, the easy to provide will be that one High Court decision does not bind the other court. You see, that's an easy answer in the textbook. But, you know, we are building a democracy. As you rightly said, everybody reading Sir Dennis Ajay's judgment, finds it very progressive. You say, we should be moving our democracy a few notches high up, you say. So where you have another decision just say, oh, no, the police can do it alone, then it's like we've gone back. We've gone backwards.
Can the protesters or conveners, organizers of this protests, can they use the same court to set aside this order?
Yes, they can apply. They can apply and then try to persuade the judge to demonstrate why they should be allowed to go. Except that on the facts of the case, it's quite a tall order, especially with the EI 37, you know, the pandemic restrictions on the movement as a result of the pandemic. Yes, it's giving quite a legitimate reason But I think that, look, they can do something middle of the road. For example, they can restrict the number of the demonstrators. Yes, okay. And then there will be social distancing. Let people demonstrate. It's cathartic, you know. When people are bottled up, they need a channel to let out the steam. They need a channel to let out the steam. So it's cathartic. When they finish demonstrating, then they are happy that, okay, at least we've had our say. I remember in, was it 1999, the Mobra struggle. Yeah, we went up to the Usu Castle, yeah, and then eventually the police beat us up and everything. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're happy that we had made our point, all right? So as for demonstrations, practically, look, we should be very slow to stop people from demonstrating. No.
Let's look at the reasoning again. And you brought the issue of the, the Restrictions Act. Indeed, we've seen several activities happening, even though we have this instrument still in place. We've adjusted it a few times. We did registration of voters. Indeed, there was voting. And before voting, we had a number of political activities. We've had people rise up once in a while to carry out some action. So is this absolutely convincing? Especially also because we're not, I mean, the cases that we're recording now is not as what we were recording back in 2020, late 2020, when we had all these political activities going on.
Yeah, you've nailed it. Absolutely, you've nailed it. It's not convincing. It's not. Especially as the number of people going to be involved in this demonstration doesn't appear to be that much. And as I've said, look, there can even be a concession that, look, will allow only 1,000 people, or maybe 500. Look, so that's middle of the road. So, you see, you know, we railed and railed, okay, against the compilation of a new voters register because of the pandemic. It fell on deaf ears. And then when it comes to the elections, of course, as for the elections, we all wanted to vote, okay? So that one, yes, and there was voting. And as you mentioned, there were political rallies. Those were super spreader events. Yet they went on and on and on. And then eventually culminated in the elections, you see. And yet today, when a few Ghanaians want to demonstrate, then police say, oh, there's COVID, there's EI 37, there's restrictions on this in demonstrations. It's not good. It just doesn't show that we are committed to protecting people's rights to vote, to demonstrate. We should do something about it. I think it's not late. You see, the fact that a court order has been made doesn't mean that the demonstrations have been cancelled. What I mean is that the two parties can agree, come together, and then go back to the judge to have the order lifted. Judgments and rulings are compromised all the time. A judge gives an order for one party. The parties are allowed in law to meet after and then to agree on something different. Then they will go to court and ask the judge to lift that order, or they will vary the judgment.
But political marketing expert Dr. Kobe Mensah says the posture of the government and the New Patriotic Party to the social media protests has been surprising, arguing that government's response has been uncoordinated.
They're all uncoordinated because they keep, saying different things at different times. And along the line, you even have a feeling that, some of them have actually shown remorse on what is, some of the things that they said. There was a counter position that even the Fix Yourself was not actually officially sanctioned. And so they're actually backtracking on that and then trying to say that we are fixing it, which they have actually issued a different, kind of hashtag. Whatever the case is, definitely the administration is listening, the officials are listening, and you would expect that, a party that actually prides itself with that kind of managerial approach to doing things would have actually responded in a very coordinated manner that people will be satisfied. But we haven't heard anything from them.
This is The Pulse. Stay with us.